Gig Gab, episode 463 for Monday, January 6th, National Cuddle Day, 2025. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Gig Gab, the show by, for, and about working musicians here in Durham, New Hampshire. I'm Dave Hamilton, and my guest co-host today is someone we love to have here on the show, cuddling with me on National Cuddle Day. It's Mike Schulte. Mike, thanks for coming on.
So other than Paul, am I maybe number two on most guest appearances, do you think?
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Hey, I got to thank you for it, because I was actually just talking to somebody the other day, and I don't know if you remember this, but my intro to podcasting was in like 2018. I started a local Iowa music scene podcast because I wanted to have these I didn't know that these existed in the world.
Sure.
I didn't know of you. I didn't know of CBC. I just started this local one, and we went, I don't know, we went for about a year and a half on a weekly basis, but I miss having these kind of musical conversations, and thanks for letting me kind of have that every once in a while. It's pretty awesome.
Well, thanks for having that with me every once in a while. It is. I love how this show has evolved in the past year. I love that I get the opportunity to talk with people in all different roles and levels of this crazy industry, and it's been mind-opening. The show has done well. Like I keep saying, listenership just keeps going up and up. But the core of one of the things I really like and have always loved about this show is just being able to do what we're about to do here, which is getting together and just we're two people playing in bands, talking about it, and I love that part. So thank you for doing that too.
Yeah, there are the people like us, and the people listening they're the ones in their band that like to have these conversations, to hear people talk about it. And then of course there's the people like my singer Mason. He would never ever want to have a conversation like this. He doesn't want to listen to a conversation like this. He's just a natural born talent, doesn't practice, doesn't warm up, shows up on stage, plays, and then never thinks about it again until he gets to the next show. And it's like, what is that like? Because I have no clue what that
I can't be like that. No, it's funny. And I'll call him out a little bit, and hopefully he's okay with this. My friend Jamie Perkins is a drummer here from New Hampshire. Some of you listening might be like, wait, I think I know that name. And if you think you know that name, you do. It's because he plays drums in the Pretty Reckless and has for forever. So last summer they toured Europe opening for AC/DC, and this summer they'll tour the United States opening up for AC/DC.
Hopefully it'll get better for him at some point. Keep going.
Yeah, that's right. But I've invited him on the show because I'm like, dude, you are just like the rest of us with a much better gig, So I'd love to talk about what's that like? Because I know that he also has experience playing in literally the same crappy clubs that I play in. Because when he's not out with them, he will do gigs. He doesn't have this mindset about himself that he's too high and mighty. He's a great drummer and loves to play with his friends and people in general. So his perspective, and I've had these conversations with him. It would be awesome to have on the show. He has no interest in coming on the show.
Yeah, doesn't want to listen, doesn't want to talk about it. No, I don't.
No,
that's not my thing.
That's not my thing. And I respect that, except for the part of me that's mildly frustrated. But dude, your perspective, because you're that guy, is the one that we all want to hear.
That's the one we want. We don't want to keep hearing Mike be like, get on social media and, you got to post every day. It's like, no, tell me other stuff that I
tell me how you just enjoy being a drummer and nothing else.
Like going on stage and being like, I'm going to play the drums now, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. That's how he is. Yeah, that's how he is. It's amazing. But he'll be touring stadiums again this summer. So
that's why everybody here listening is because you want to hear these conversations, even though you want to admit it or not. You want to hear us talk about this.
That's exactly right. So, all right, I know we have a million things on the list that has been just growing and growing since we planned this, and I'm going to take us in a completely different direction just to start. Hopefully, hopefully we still get to the other things, because I saw a post online. It was probably in, Cover Band Central or whatever the heck that cesspool kind of thing becomes. And somebody was like, I calculated my hourly rate doing I left the house at 3 p.m, or started packing up my car, but till the time I unpacked my car, he's like, we earned $1.50 an hour or something per band member. Right. And I just commented and said, it's time to set your rate in your head at, $250 a band member. Start there, right? Just figure out, do that. And then once you get there, do it again. Set your rate at $500 a band member and do that. And then just keep doing that. And immediately the person responded and was like, oh, if I did that, I would never get any gigs. Like the market here doesn't pay more than, $100 a man, blah, 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 blah. And I said, this is you need to change your mindset moment, because that's what that is. And this is not an easy thing. But it is the reality of it, in my opinion, is you can define your value, but you have to deliver that value. And so, but it is a level up moment. And I don't know if you heard the conversation I had recently with Bruce Bennett, the guy in Shot of Poison, who's playing in this tribute band, actually here in New Hampshire, doing quite well. But they, right out of the gate, they treated it like a business, like to the point where he asked every one of his bandmates, we got to each kick in $2,500 to form the LLC so that we have some money in it to buy the lights and buy the, staging and all that. This is how you go from being a $100 mindset thinker to the, $500 or $1,000 a gig mindset thinker, and then grow from there. So my question for you is, first of all, if you disagree with me, have at it. And secondly, regardless of whether you agree or disagree, when it came time to level up the Pork Tornadoes, did someone invite you to start getting paid more per gig, or did you decide to do it and invite yourself?
Okay, so this is my biggest problem with the modern cover band mind thought. And
yes,
you see it on the CBC, on Cover Band Central. This is where you see it. It's generally older men that have been playing for a long time, and there's this weird mentality of because I chose to learn how to play the guitar and start a band, I deserve to be paid for it. And it's like, what? No one asked you to do this. No one forced you to do this. No one actually wanted you to do this. You're not providing. And I'm generalizing here. If you're just this classic rock band that plays Summer of '69 and Journey, no one actually wanted you to do that. And you're not actually doing anything uniquely original that people are like, we gotta get there. We gotta go see that band play Summer of '69. And so,
that's Paul used to say, it again, tongue in cheek, you haven't seen my fastball yet.
Yeah, that's popped in my head.
Your comment of, we got to go see this band play Summer of '69.
Oh my God. You should hear the way they play Summer of '69. It's incredible.
That's the thing that you need to do. You need to figure out how to get people to say that seriously, but not as a joke.
That's the problem, though, because this same mindset is still in the world where you hire me to be the entertainment, and we play for your people. We are the entertainment, and that is why you hired me. And it's this weird, sure, okay, maybe that was a thing back then. I don't know, but it's not anymore. Well, there's no such thing as that anymore.
There totally is in the wedding band circuit. Yes. That is 100% that. I
don't think these guys are playing that.
Certainly it would be bad for wedding bands to draw their own crowd to every wedding. Right?
Well,
but that's where that belongs, is in the wedding band, corporate band circuit. Now, in that circuit, though, you also have to decide to level yourself up and market yourself and do all of the things that people in that vibe are going to want to get from you. And it's a different presentation than a standard bar band cover band. Like, it's a whole thing. So,
and it's until you figure out that if you're not evolving, if you're not bringing in new ideas, if you're not changing set lists, adding new songs, being open to being open to the things right now that are getting bands paid, backing tracks, click tracks, automated lights, amp modelers. If you're not open to any of that, in fact, there was a post the other day where the guy was mad about backing tracks and clearly had no idea what backing tracks were. He thought that a backing track meant no one played their instrument and you just pretended that you played it. And
that is one version.
Yeah, but that's what he thinks everyone's doing. And my point is that nobody asked you to do this. And if you want to make more than $1 an hour or whatever per member, you're not just gonna get it. The whole world's not just gonna rise up and be like, we gotta pay shitty cover bands more. This is important. No one's gonna do that. And so the only way that you're gonna possibly increase that is if you actually break that mold that you had in your head of we don't have to draw a crowd, we don't have to promote. If you could actually turn it to a moment where people want to follow you, you have all the power in the world. And that's what happened to Pork Tornadoes. We were great. We've always been great. We've been incredible musicians and always had fun people coming to our shows. But the minute that people realized that we were something different, we didn't make the choice, but we started playing more like girl pop songs. And it's just sort of all of a sudden people were like, wait, have you heard about, I know it's normal nowadays, but go back 10 years ago, nobody was playing like Taylor Swift in a cover band, Nope. So when people started hearing,
especially not guys.
Yeah. When they started,
and that's still almost, it obviously I'm playing in Casual Gravity now and we do a lot of that. And it's like, it is a magic formula if you can deliver on it. And it's not just what you do on stage. You have to market the band. Like, it's all you. It starts with you.
And once those people started differentiating us from everyone else, going, well, we got to go there. That's when things change. That's when now the bar that typically says, well, we only pay bands $600. That's when you're like, well, hey, remember last time we were here and you told us it was the #1 bar sales you've had all in 3 years and the most people you've had in your place in 2 years. Well, our price just went up. And guess what? They're going to pay it. But
happily.
We had no leg to stand on before that show because we're just like every other band.
Yes.
And then there are those moments where if you're not spending money on like going in the studio and maybe like recording some covers, if Tennessee Whiskey wouldn't have happened to us.
Oh yeah. That was a big deal for you guys.
It was a huge deal because now all of a sudden it's people going, oh my God, this is a local band. I gotta go see them. I've heard of them. I just never had a chance to go see them. So the idea that you can just complain about it and just be like, it's got to change, man. It's like, no, because if you're not evolving, there's no such thing as staying flat. You're either evolving
up or down.
or you're going down. Like, so if you reach a point and you're like, we did it, this is where we want to live from now on out, you're actually going to start going back
you're
down
already
again.
going down.
You're already going down.
And that's true in every business, by the way. If you get to a point
these are life lessons.
where you are complacent, be ready for the price of complacency.
This is a life lesson. This just happened to 100%. Me with my real job of selling real estate. Is once my daughter, who's 2.5 now, came along, I kind of quit, sort of just said, I'm not going to hustle as hard. I'm going to spend some time at home, which by the way was the greatest decision I've ever made in my entire life. But guess who had 2 of the worst years they've ever had in real estate in the last 2 years? Me.
Yep.
Because I stopped spinning wheels. I stopped thinking about it. I stopped making it part of my life,
I did that with Backbeat Media for 8 years. When my kids were in that realm of like dance recitals and hockey games and all of those things, I put Backbeat on autopilot. I had good people working for me and all those things, but I was not pushing the business forward. They were doing their jobs and doing them fine for the most part, but I was not driving things. And so things started to and then one day it was like, wait, how much do we have in the bank?
Oopsies.
Looks like, but it was that happened at, I'll say, the perfect time. Yeah. We were able to save the business, but it was like, oh, I need to get involved now. And unfortunately I had to cut some staff and like do some things, but it was like, all right, I am now motivated. Like, I don't need to be disciplined about this. It's like, I am now driven. I want to do this back with this business, and grew it back up again. And it's been fantastic. But what a lesson.
Yeah. I think everybody out there has experienced that in some way, shape,
and
or form.
I don't regret it, by the way. The time I spent with my kids, amazing.
Stop it. Like, it's the best decision. That's where I'm lucky in having kids.
I would do it again
on in life, as everybody told me that. They're like, you can make more money, just spend some time at home. And it's been great. But anybody out there can relate to that in some sense. Maybe it's a relationship, a job, or an old band. But like, yeah, if somebody in your band is not waking up and sleeping, just dreaming about your band and things to do, that's when the moment might come where it's like, okay, we're not going forward anymore because we don't have any fresh new ideas or new things. But actually, I was talking, and funny you brought up the hourly rate thing. I was talking to Adam Johnson, our friend from Cover Band Confidential, and I was telling him how I don't like that people judge their hourly rate for music on just time on stage. You know, like, it seems like people, they go, well, yeah, you know, I make $100 an hour, and then that's me on stage. But ever since
you don't get to roll in and do that. Most people don't. Yeah.
And maybe sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. But
sure.
When I had my kids, that was the time on stage was the last thing I was thinking about. It was, what time am I leaving the house? How much dead air time do I have before it? Do I now have to stay in a hotel because it's too late and we're too far away? And so I consciously spent the effort in 2024 of tallying how much hours I spent from the minute I left my house to when, and I'm up to like just under 1,000 hours of from when I was gone from my house for music related things. And so, yeah, I can now use that as a number to be like, okay, I truly want to make this per hour of time spent away from my house. I don't care if it's,
it doesn't matter what I'm doing
in a hotel room. I want this. And luckily we're there, but now it needs to be there or more, because, like, you know, time's precious for sure.
It is. I love the idea of using the spreadsheet for that. When I moved from Texas to Connecticut, right as our kids, actually it was before our son was born, it was right after our daughter was born. I had a very healthy consulting business back in Austin. We decided to move back here into New England, I say, to be closer to family. But I had clients in Austin who begged me to come back. And I said, okay, I'll come back once a quarter. And I did. I would spend basically a week, 5 or 6 days in Austin. But my spreadsheet was, what is my hourly rate from the time I did it? I didn't do from the time I left my house. I'm not sure why I did it this way, but my hourly rate was from the time I land in Austin to the time I am wheels up leaving Austin. Sleeping, driving, eating.
You're away. I mean, maybe you're not working, but you're not home.
I'm not home. Nope. And if that number wasn't, $150 an hour or higher, it was like, okay, this isn't worth it. And that's what I told my clients too. I'm like, look, there are people who will be less expensive for you because they don't have to travel to see you.
Yeah.
But you make the call. Here's what it's going to cost. They're like, yeah, we'll pay for you. Okay, great, fine. I'll go. I mean, it was good. I would make a ton of money and come back and it'd be fine.
Yeah. And to put that back in the band conversation, like, if you're not happy with what that rate is, then you either need to figure out a way to up it or don't play. Like, don't take the show, like, because that's where too many people go, well, we should do it anyway, but we're going to be mad about it. It's like, no, just don't, no one's forcing you to do this if it's not something you either really gotta want to do or you're not making enough money at it, We just played a gig with Casual. There's this new batch of casinos opening up here in New Hampshire, Revo Casinos. Casinos.
They're lovely people there, and I look forward to playing at their venues time and time again. Like, it's going to be great. But we played our first one at this casino in a town called Lebanon, New Hampshire, which like in the middle of the night with no traffic is probably 90 minutes from the guy who lives closest. The guy who lives farthest is probably 2 and change. I'm sort of in the middle of that. But we drove there in a snowstorm during Friday night traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. However, that was not the start of the process that made us decide that place is just too far for us. They're new, they're getting their legs underneath them, they're learning how to communicate their logistics and all of this. So everybody that we've dealt with is totally fine, but there were some interesting things. This gig's on Friday. I had a crazy week. I had a gig 2 hours south of me on Thursday night. So I did it. I went 2 hours south on Thursday night, 2 hours north on Friday night, fine. These are decisions I made. I said yes to these gigs. Yeah. It's fine. No problem. And on Wednesday night, right before my mayhem is about to begin, we get a request from the club. Hey, can you send along a stage plot? Somehow, and I see this as opportunity, somehow Casual Gravity has gotten to the point where they are, and I say the point where they are because they did it without me, but the point where we are now, making great money for gigs, triple what other bands make as a minimum, all this great stuff without ever even being asked for or having to create a stage plot, which blew my mind. Yeah. And they're like, we don't even know what to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much potential in this band. If we haven't ever even been asked for this, the sky is open. Like, this is great. But I'll make the stage plot. I know we need it quickly. So I cobbled together a stage plot for this band. Fine. While I'm doing that, they get another message. Oh yeah, by the way, when we booked the gig, full PA and sound engineer. Great. Okay. House has it. No problem. Great. We don't know anything. We've never seen this room before because no one has. The place hasn't even opened yet. Yeah. So if you need more than 6 channels of inputs, you're going to need to bring your own mixer.
Well, let's count them up. Yep, we do.
Yep. And it's like, well, they're like, yeah, we only put vocals in the house. And it's like, well, whatever goes in the house is fine, but we're all on in-ears here. So everything has to be mic'd. Otherwise there's no sound. So it's like, okay, great. This band has never done its own sound before. And now with 48 hours notice, we're doing our own sound.
Yeah.
Yep. Because there's not time, nor is there budget to hire an engineer, right, for this particular gig. It's just, again, I don't blame the club. They're figuring this stuff out. Probably when they booked us, they thought that the gear was going to be different, and then it gets built out, and here's what it is. Okay, fine, no problem. So I was like, okay, great. Well, I would have loved to have more time and a rehearsal to prepare for this, but I don't. So now I sit down in the time I don't have and build out a mix on my mixer so that build out a scene on my mixer so that I'm not doing this while we're setting up at the club. It's all ready to go. And it worked out fine. We gave them stereo outs and basically mixed the show from the stage. Not basically, 100% mixed the show from the stage. And it was great. They want to have us back. We told them this is probably too far, but we'll go to your other locations. They're like, great. Everybody was really nice. It was totally fine. But, it's just one of those, here we are. And we get there. This is the strangest thing. I've seen it maybe in movies, but I've never done this. We get there. I walk in the door. Okay, here's the door in. Okay, here's the door to the stage. Okay, we bring our stuff in. I walk out on stage, and I am literally above the bar. Mm-hmm. There's bottles of liquor right at the front of the stage. So the people sitting at the bar are in the front row, and the bartenders are like our bouncers between the barricade and the stage.
I've only seen that online and in movies before. I've never actually seen that in person.
I know. I was like, this is what? What?
So let me ask you a question.
Unreal.
These casino gigs. Are you guys allowed to gamble and drink while you're on site?
I was surprised that we were allowed to drink on site. I don't know if we would have been allowed to gamble or not. None of us tried. We got there. We got there because of the snow and everything. We only had an hour to set up, which was certainly not enough time given that we were doing our own sound for the first time ever. But everybody rallied, like we did it. It was all fine. But they did let us drink, which shocked me because when I've played Foxwoods, which is a Native American reservation casino down in Connecticut, you are not.
You're a hotel employee or a casino employee. Like, here's your badge. You are
correct. Here's your badge
right now. Yes.
Well, and the other thing is that I learned playing Foxwoods is you are not in the United States.
Correct.
And this is an important thing to bear in mind at all times. Yes. When they say, we need you to do this, there's no, that's not how the law works. Well,
no,
maybe, it might be. That. Tribal law might say differently. You want to talk to the chief about it? Nope.
We only did like one casino gig where it was on a floor where you're on the casino floor and it was a no-go for us. We were like, this is not us. We don't want to do that. Even though those gigs can be so great for like, the ones that will put you up for like 5 straight days and you just, your stuff stays set up and you just play the same thing every night. Those are really great. And I know people that will have the experience of like, we go there as like a band vacation.
Yeah.
Family
it's like a band vacation.
Yeah.
Yep. It's shared crisis in the end, but
but no, it's just not for everybody. And it was not for us. It was, we used to be, and we can still very much be a very loud band and guys walking around with decibel readers. It's like, no. So we do all like the closed door rooms in Iowa and the Midwest where it's ticketed, it's closed door. We are not a hotel, a casino employee. We are the band that is here in this room for an event. So that's what we do. Usually the sound system's much better and the lights are much better. Yes.
I was surprised, and the sound system was better than I thought it was because we wound up having to, I don't even know if the club knows this by now, but we wound up putting guitars and such in the mains. And everybody, including the club, was like, wow, you sounded great. They're like, there were moments where it was loud. I'm like, you got a live band right behind your bar. Like,
exactly.
But it wasn't a complaint. They were learning too, right? So it was all fine. But it was, the sound system at Foxwoods down there is fantastic. But it's the decibel meter. And I mentioned on a recent episode that there was one time where we had drawn a huge crowd. It was on the casino floor like you're describing. And we had drawn a huge crowd for the end of our set. We played 4 40-minute sets with 20 minutes off. At the end of the third set, you heard a roar. You could not hear people applaud, right? It was like, oh, yeah, that's wonderful. And we're coming off stage and the sound guy comes up and he's like, look, you can't do that ever again. I was like, what are you we're definitely like, that's the freaking goal, dude.
We don't want people here. They cannot be here. They have to be there.
They need to be spending money gambling. This is why we do 40-minute sets, to break it up and move people around.
No, just counterintuitive to everything we've ever wanted.
It's like, I don't know how not to do that, by the way. Like,
You know what I will? I'm going to make a prediction on the show right now that, so you said this casino's got like multiple locations and you'll probably play the other ones, but not this one.
It's just far. Yeah, that's all. Maybe if they ask us to do it in the middle of August when we know there's not going to be a snowstorm, we probably could be talked back into it again.
My prediction is that you guys are, from everything I've heard about this new band and obviously you being involved, you guys are, you know what you're doing. You're good. You're nice. You know how to interact with people. You put on a good show. My prediction is they will ask you to come back and they will increase your money. They'll say,
yes,
what's it going to take? What's it going to take to get you back up? And that leads right back into the beginning of this. Like, if you're doing your job right and creating a demand where they want you back, then they will increase your money if you're worth it.
Yes. I think that will happen. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Yeah.
2025.
No, but like I said, even if that doesn't happen, that gig on Friday night was eye-opening for me because it showed me all of the things that this band has never even thought about doing. No, and I don't say that negatively. It was like,
of course, they just
there's
haven't had
so much opportunity here that I didn't, like, I assumed they had like checked all these boxes and done all these things and this was the level they were able to get to. It was like, no, there's so much, like the sky is the limit for this band, man, which is great.
I just listened to the you had the singer on.
Yeah, Tom was on. Yeah, exactly.
That's a fun convo because you can tell you guys are already kind of clicking on the personal level.
Totally.
And that the vibe is good. You could feel that, and I think that's what you talked about from the beginning. Is like if I'm gonna get in something, it's got to be a good hang. It's got to be good people, and it sounds like you definitely picked the right group.
I somehow stumbled into this. This was dumb luck. Like we were talking about
but they're saying the same thing about you.
They're saying no. We're all saying we were all just kind of available, sort of. I mean, it wasn't even a Hail Mary. It was just a comment after we talked for a half hour about this Taylor Swift tribute project that he wants to start. And I was like, it's too bad we didn't meet a couple months ago. And it was like, wait, why? Like, well, are you looking? Yes. This sounds perfect.
Okay.
Oh, well, come audition. What? Yeah, our drummer doesn't know. Okay. But like he was very, if a band called me and said, yeah, we're holding auditions, but please don't tell our drummer. Like if that's where the conversation started, I would have been like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I can't. No. But that's not what happened. Like they were like, yeah, we brought him in, but it's just not clicking. And it's like, okay, I get that. Like, you think you make all the right decisions and then you get to find out, did I make the right call? And I'm sure for the first 5 or 6 gigs, I know I was like still feeling things out with them. I'm sure they were still feeling things out with me. Of course.
It's always feeling stuff out.
Always.
17 years later for us. We're like, that was weird. Never experienced that before.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you had 2 ideas that led to us scheduling this episode. I'm going to let you pick where we go next.
I think we actually kind of got into the first one earlier.
I think we sort of did.
That's just my just this endless thought process of just observing the boomer musician. And I say boomer because people think that's an age reference. It's not. I don't mean anything about age when I'm saying boomer. Boomer is a mentality. It is become this like
stuck in your ways musician.
Yes,
maybe that's a better.
Music has come out since 1992.
Yep.
No, every artist sucks. Every backing tracks are the devil, and it's just there's not much to say about it other than these people. I firmly believe that if these musicians do not eventually at least come around on the idea of technology and backing tracks and click tracks and amp modelers and new music, if they do not even just like think about it and give it an honest go, I firmly believe that every one of their bands will be completely obsolete in 5 years, and that no one, the shift has changed to the entertaining tribute bands, the decade bands, the genre bands, the variety bands that can just go all over the place, the high energy stuff, the people that sound good, that have all the gear, that have programmed light shows and have video walls. That is the new norm. It's not we got a video wall, we stand out. It's like, no, now you got a video wall and now you're among the good bands, So I think if they're not evolving, I don't see them ever getting a good paying gig within the next 5 to 10 years. And I hate to say it, but that is what that mentality brings when you're not willing to I listen to new music every week. I pull up this new playlist and I listen to like top 40, top 100 songs. And every 3 songs I go, I love this song. And I'm adding it to a playlist. I'm 42 years old. I don't understand kind of some of this music, but I can at least go, this sounds awesome. And like, I can see why people like this. And I don't ever want to lose that mentality. I'm so scared that I will someday, but like,
it's really like that, what a great exercise. You know me, I love giving people tips. That's the tip, man. Like when you're not like, like in between when your listening time is completely consumed with learning the songs you need to learn for your next gig, and when you have nothing to learn for your next gig yet because you've kind of got it down, but before you start listening to pleasure music, just take a tour through the top 50 songs or even the top 20.
It's and force yourself
make a note.
To think of something that's like that you like about it. Like what do you like the way that the beat is? What is the BPM of this, and why is it making me groove? So man, we got to pay attention to those BPMs. Or man, the thing that bugs me the most is when people say like they say whatever Led Zeppelin album is the best sounding album in the world. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. The modern music has been perfected. Like it sounds so, modern country music sounds so pleasing to the ears.
Oh, it's crazy.
Like, you just have to give it a second. Like just listen to it, and we'll hear a song every couple months where we're like, we got to play that. We got to add this song. And we played a wedding on Saturday night where we walked in, we went, like it was a young wedding, and we're getting in our target age range is 30 to 50, and these kids were all 21, 22. And so we leaned in really heavy to the songs we've learned over the last couple of years that if we had just been set in our ways, I don't know how good that would have gone.
Right.
When you're playing a song like Somebody Told Me by the Killers, and then you're kind of getting a little bit of a blank stare, you're like, oh my God, that song only came out like 20 years ago. What are we doing here? So that was my whole point of that. It was this whole mentality just makes me laugh of the, I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to move on from there.
You mentioned the video wall, so I will take us on a detour before we go to the next topic. This happened twice at this casino gig, and it was as though I was on Candid Camera or some kids. You can ask your parents what Candid Camera was, but. It was like as though I was the butt of this joke. Yeah. So we get there I arrived at 8:05 and I was only the second person there after our singer. So bass player and guitar player still haven't gotten there, right? And we have a 9:00 downbeat. Everybody kind of knows it's snowing. Things were crazy. Like if we start a little bit late, everybody's going to be okay with it. We'd already sort of paved that path. But finally, our guitar player and bass player show up not too long after, and we're all kind of getting things set up. And it was kind of fine. It was a cramped stage, so it was nice to get some of the drums set up before there were two more bodies on stage. But now we're all there. We'd gotten everything wired up somehow. We all just learned how to work together, wiring up our PA, which we've never done as the four of us before. But we're getting there. Mics are set up. Everything's good. I happen to be back at my drums doing something, and I look and I see Tom, our singer, who's downstage center, and our guitar player, Jeff, who's downstage left, kind of crouching down slowly. And I'm like, what is going? And I realize there's a screen lowering from the ceiling onto them. And they're they're just crouching as a gut response. They don't even understand what's happening. And finally, so the screen's all the way down. They're behind it. We're all sort of bewildered. And Tom, peers out around the edge of the screen and says to the bar, hey, can we, raise this back up here? And they're like, oh, you want it back up? I was like, oh yeah, for certain. Yes. It's a wonder that it only nudged into humans and didn't take down mic stands and it could have easily. We didn't.
What was it for? Was it for?
It was for projecting.
If you wanted it.
Well, not while a band was there. It was it was closer to the front of the stage.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So it was for them to project on when maybe there's not people on stage. So it's they're like, oh, you want that back up? It's yes.
We would really love that.
We need that. It was why are you asking this question? This is bizarre. And so finally it goes back up. Okay. We do the gig. We're breaking down. And suddenly, the same thing starts to happen
on a timer
again.
Or something, right?
And the guy who was managing the show was off stage right. And I was like, hey, can we, whoa. He's like, oh, do you need that back up? It's
yes.
Yeah. Why are we not being, we're four humans on this stage.
We'll tell you when you can take it down.
Yeah. Why is no one consulting with us about it? It was, but nobody was well, tough. They were oh, okay, no problem. They were super friendly about it. But it just hadn't dawned on anyone that you might never do that when someone's on stage.
They're learning.
I know, but that was the beauty of it. It was the second time was the same reaction as the first. Oh, you want that back up?
Sure.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. And then he just reached around and pressed a button and back up it went. It's there was no friction well, we need it down because but if you don't mind, there was none of that. It was just oh, yeah, no problem. Okay. Like I said, super friendly, but everybody's learning the logistics. Everybody at the bar, one by one, needed to learn that the door that we needed to open to the outside was a door we were allowed to open to the outside. You know, they were like, you have to close that. They're like, we have to load in drums and amps. They're like, is that okay? It's like, yes. And then they would go check. They'd be like, okay, yeah, it's all good. And then the next person, what's going on here? It's like,
yeah,
team meeting time.
Yeah, don't expect, if you've never played a casino before, that things are easy. It's always like, well, this person needs to talk to this person to talk to this person just to open this door. So
correct.
Give us time.
Give us time. Yeah. I will say, you know, now that you're putting it in context of all the casinos, this was actually the easiest casino I've played to deal with.
That's good.
It really was. Like, because you're right. And like, in the past, would be like, no, the screen must be down at 8:47 p.m. and that's what time it comes down. And at 9:47, it goes back up or whatever. You know, it's like, just deal. Yep. And my guess is, well, I don't want to make any guesses, but it was very, compared to other casinos and even compared to most gigs, like these were super friendly, helpful, accommodating people. They just didn't yet know. We were their first live full band, so they didn't know what they didn't know, and they were fully willing to learn. So we say it a lot of times, and I it's a pride point for me, and I think most bands should try to achieve this. That I don't think the Pork Tornadoes have been in situations before that no other band could have handled. You know, like like those situations where I'm like, no one could have gotten through this with a shining A+ rating without it being us four and the knowledge we have and the mindset we have and the preparedness that we have for this unbelievably unique situation that no one has ever experienced before. You know, like I pride myself in that mentality, and I think you need to strive for that in your band, to have the right people in place so that when that happens, you know, because there would have been nobody loses it, right? Like that's what
there would have been bands that would have folded at your last gig. They would have just lost it.
Somebody would have stormed out, like you know, that would have broken a glass and stormed out. That's absolutely. I've been in bands like that. Yeah. I always say, I don't say it on this show often, but in life in general, people are sick and tired of hearing me say this, and certainly on Business Brain, the show we do for entrepreneurs, I say every business is the customer service business.
Yeah.
And being a band, you are absolutely in the customer service business, and you have, like many businesses, different sets of customers. The patrons that come to see you are your customers, but also so are the venues at which you play. And even your vendors, like even if you're four-walling an event where, you know, you rented the venue, I still treat every one of my vendors whom I'm paying as a customer because I want them to want to continue to work with me.
1,000,000%. Completely. That's the right mentality.
Yes. It's just, it's a mentality thing. That's it. Yeah.
Well, that actually brings us into the other point is that I'm sure most people out there, you know, when you're a band, you're always getting hit up for, hey, play this fundraiser. Can you do some music for this nonprofit? And I've always thought about it, interestingly enough, because it always, you know, like let's say you're throwing this giant charity event and you're renting out this big building and you're going to get 5,000 people there. You're going to have all this stuff and you're going to have food. Everybody else is going to get paid for being there, right? You know, like the caterers are going to get paid for doing the food, and the building's likely going to get paid for having you rent out their facility. But it's always the musician in the band that's like, well, can you donate your time and can you play for free? Because it's, you know, you don't have a physical service. You know, you're not buying food. You're doing what you love, and that's great. And why don't you do it for us? And you know, there are a lot of people out there that will do that. Especially for something they believe in or a family friend, and that is totally,
and that's okay,
totally fine.
Yes,
totally fine. But you know, once you achieve a certain popularity level, I once every 2 days a request is coming into the Pork Tornadoes for something. You know, because you're a big name band. If you play our fundraiser, a lot of people will come, and it's like, okay, you're right, but also. The problem being, we would love to do every charity festival we can and help raise money. As a band, we've now raised over $130,000 over the last decade, like that we've personally been involved with.
Congratulations, dude!
It's so huge to us. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, but you can't do it every show.
That's $130K that you did not put in your pockets,
Yes.
that you chose. And I realize that charity events, fundraisers tend to draw more cash than you would have been paid. But let's say you would have been paid half of that or even a third of that, right?
Still great.
That's still a lot of money to donate.
Yes. But when you're a band and you got multiple members and you're bringing a sound guy and you've got crew like we do, we're like, let's say we got a small sound guy rig, our crew and gas, we're $2,000 in the hole just to play a show before we leave the town, small rig, crew and everything. And so for us to not only not get paid for a Saturday where we would get paid, but also to lose money, it's like this, we can't do this. So we made a rule that we would do one per year as a band. And that's a great way to tell our booking agent to be like, they do one pro bono event a year. Instead, here's some tickets to a show, like auction off free tickets to a show. That's easy for us to do, right?
Yes.
But I was thinking about this. We did it last night. We've done this now 8 years in a row where we have gone on a Sunday, set up live streaming, set up all these Mevo cameras, set up audio, and we've done this live stream concert for a local Iowa nonprofit that deals with SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome.
Yeah.
And last night in 2 hours, we raised $20,000 on this online auction thing. And every year before we go into this, I'm always like, man, like it's a Sunday. We just played. I'm so tired. I don't want to drive. I don't want to spend 7 hours doing this. And then at the end of the night, we're in tears just at like how powerful of a thing it is to be able to use your talents to help raise money. So what I want to project to everybody is that, like, if you're passionate about something, you should definitely do it. You should definitely give your time to as many as you want a year. Like, this is your call.
Sure. Yeah. You make it, but what a great, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. But the one thing I wanted to offer you is that this was the foundation is dissolving. This was their last event because it was started by a family who lost a kid to SIDS, and it's been 8 years of living that moment to raise money. They've raised millions of dollars, and they as a family would like to move on from this. Like we need to move forward, and it's totally understandable. But we decided last night, we're like, we got to keep doing this because it is so important to give back. And I think this is a lesson your band can learn, is that it's not about the notoriety of doing it. It's about the money that you can raise for a local charity, but always be performing, right? Like the fact that we're going to announce
there is a side effect here. Yes.
There's the fact that we're going to announce here later tonight a picture of us in front of $20,000 on a piece of paper that we raised this for charity. That's a very positive look for your band if you want any sort of social media or awareness of that. And I think all of us should pick something that we're passionate about and maybe try to do something like this once a year, where it's the insert your band name concert for a cause. We do it every year. We do it on this date. We pick a different local charity every time. I'm fresh off of this, so I think it's something that as band members we can really like make a difference in our community, but also like fulfill our souls a little bit because we're doing it, but also just show that we're more. You're not just a band that shows up at the bar for 4 hours and plays Sweet Home Alabama. It's like, no, we actually can do something with this talent that we've been blessed with and this life that we've been blessed with. So it just got my brain moving a little bit of like a way for anybody out there listening to like start something, like be the ones in your community that do this and like be the first ones to come up with this idea locally,
I like that. Yeah. Well, first of all, kudos to you and congratulations for the success with it. And also just for doing it. Yeah. I'm curious about this. So there were no audience members there in person, right?
There was. It started off 8 years ago with an iPhone on a stand, and us sitting in front of it. And COVID forced us to go virtual with it, like with multiple cameras and
sure.
And actually, this is the third year now where they've also invited a live studio audience. So we were there for 4 hours before we started, because we had to not only set up 7 cameras that we could and the system to rotate through. We were doing all the work. Then we had to get our audio correct to go in the system. Then we had to also send audio out to those people, and we had to set up lights. And by the way, once we got around to internet, there was none. The the place we were at was in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, oh, well, we don't have like Wi-Fi out here. And we're like, we're live streaming in 1 hour.
Yeah, right.
So dude, they called a local phone company, and they got a guy who knew who we were and who knew of the charity. And he brought a 350-foot long Ethernet cable that we ran from their house, a football field away, to their garage. We plugged it in at 6:48, and we were live streaming at 7:00. So again,
the nerd in me especially loves this.
Like I said, there are moments where no other band could have pulled that off. Like if we didn't have the people, we had my band going, wait, we need this. We're going to call this guy. But yeah, so there was a live studio audience plus a live stream feed. You can go and check it out on Pork Tornado's Facebook and YouTube. But
I already put a link in the show notes.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep doing it. So next year we're gonna pick the location. We're gonna sell tickets.
Maybe somewhere that has internet.
Correct. We're already and I have a 350-foot long Ethernet cable right now that is mine. So we can always, because he said I don't want that back. You can just have it.
Most of the time, you got lucky. Ethernet generally will not transmit much farther than like that 100-meter thing is about the limit. So it
worked.
I know. Yeah. When you said 350 feet, I'm like, oh yeah, probably. I mean, as long as everything else is in spec, you'll be all right. You know. Yeah.
But it's a pretty good model. Like if you figure next year we'll do a $50 ticket for 100 people, and you've got $5,000 there. The place we're going to do it at can keep all beverage and drink sales. Let us have the place for free. You keep all that. Then $5,000 can help us pay for a streaming company and a sound company and some crew. And then everything beyond that and everything online is just, it goes out to the charity of choice. So it's just especially around the holidays, it feels great. The fact that we're 2 days away from Christmas and that we just did that, it felt like, like we did it, you know? So that's one of the ways to think outside the box of this whole cover band thing, and to make not only make it more fulfilling for you, but also just make yourself stand out that you do this. I don't know anyone else in our area that does anything like this that I've heard of. So it's like, it's our thing, you know, and you can be that band too in your area. Find something you're passionate about. I'm sure somebody in the band is passionate about some local nonprofit that's a big deal, you know?
Yeah. And if you're not at a point where you're comfortable four-walling this, essentially, which is what you're now going to start doing, and you've been doing for a little while. But if you're not comfortable with that, find a charity that does something that you can get behind and partner with them. We did that with Fling for a long time. There was this charity, and the name is escaping me, but it was very similar to this. It was called Angels Walk for Wishes. And they would raise a bunch of money and donate it to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It was a bunch of families who had lost children. I suppose some might have been from SIDS, but also some that, were, 4, 5, 6 years old kind of thing, where it was, there was this endless outpouring of sad stories, but that's what bonded these people together. And for 7 years, they did an event where they would do a walk and raise a bunch of money. And then we would play, I guess, before and after the walk, if I'm remembering the flow of things correctly. But it was great. And we became intertwined with them, like you have with this.
It's the exact same thing, man. Like when we joined this was their thing. We just agreed to sort of be a part of it. And then and then you become this like entity together. And that's the way you can totally start it easily.
And that's a good way to start it, because you've got somebody to partner with, and that takes a lot of the fear and responsibility away but then like we did not keep it going afterwards for a variety of reasons. But like we could have, like, we knew everything to do by 7 years in with this thing. It was like, oh yeah, we could like do the whole thing and just pick a charity. It could be the same charity, but these people were done. Like same with your folks. They were like, yeah, we needed to do this for a variety of reasons. And one of them was so that we could all sort of learn how to begin the process of healing. And we're I don't want to say that any one of them is healed now because I can't imagine any of them are, but they've figured out this thing helped them get on that path, and now they're on that path, and they're like, yeah, we don't need to do that anymore, and you know,
and you don't have to make it a live stream. Let's say you have let's say you have this big annual ticketed show that you do, like make it where $1 for every ticket sold, $1 for every person through the door is going to such charity. You know, like, that's a really easy way to just. I can tell you from experience, it doesn't necessarily like incentivize people to buy tickets. You would think so. Like I've always thought that if you go, well, I don't really want to go to that show, and but they're donating to my favorite charity. Okay, I'll go. It doesn't really necessarily work that way, but it's such a good way to just easily allocate some funds to just go. Yeah, here they go.
There you go.
And here you go. In exchange for them sharing your event and letting their community know about your event. It's a very easy way to do it.
It's great. Yep. Love it. I'm glad you did that, first of all, and I'm glad you brought it to chat about here.
It's fresh in my brain. It's just it's one of those things where you just you know, like you wish you could do everyone for free. You can't, and it's just not a model. You know, you're taking money out of people's pockets on a consistent basis, but to be able to just pick one that you really care about and that you know that they're doing what they need to be doing, it's a great feeling. And we're already jacked up, already talking about next year. Okay, now how are we going to do that? Now this is all us. Okay, how are we going to, where should we have it at? So it's just a cool, and I'll tell you what, it's a great bonding thing for the band members too. You like just to be a part of that, and know that you did something like that's crazy.
It really feels good. Yeah. I can attest to that. When I was, and it is good to have a rule of thumb for your band. Like you guys have decided it's one per year, and that's great. And maybe there'll be a year where a second opportunity comes up and mutually the four of you decide, yeah, okay, great, we're going to also do this one. But having that rule of thumb in Chafed, we did a lot of charity gigs. Well, not a lot, but we did a good handful of them. And the rule was everybody in the band gets one. So if this is important to you, bring it to the band, as long as nobody has like a conflict, you know, either a date conflict or wait, this charity that you like, Dave, is something that is, you know, offensive to 99% of the population. Like, you know, as long as it wasn't something like that. Yeah. Then it was like, okay, everybody gets one. And the one could be, hey, I want to have a party at my house for my friends and we're not going to get paid for it. It's like, if that's what you want, we're all there. And there was never any like, I can't believe we're doing this for, you know, whatever, because the rule was there. And some years, in fact, I would say most years, not everyone exercised their option.
Yeah.
Right. But it was like, you knew you had at least one a year. And obviously the band was open to this. So you could lobby and say, hey, I know we already did one for me this year, but here's this thing. And, you know, it'd probably work out okay.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, yep, 100%. And was there to deliver. It wasn't, you know, I'm only going to bring like a kick and a snare to this thing. This is stupid. It's free. No. It's like, we're going to go put on the Chafed show and here's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember your value. If you're out there and you do sell a lot of tickets, that is something that we play. What did we play? 15. We played 15 private shows this year. And a few of them were technically fundraisers, but we still got our full rate because there was value in it, and they were extremely happy with how the night went because the value of us being there provided more ticket sales. So just remember that, like, you don't always have to discount just to help. Like sometimes just you being there and putting on a good show is actually what will make the event successful. So just remember that for sure, that, you know, the caterer's still getting paid. You know, why can you still not get paid for your time?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, pick and choose those carefully. I like the one a year. I like that sort of ground rule. I like that.
And then your agent knows it. Whoever's booking it knows it, and that's just your standard. Be like, hey, listen, they only do one a year. It's already booked, but we've added you to a list. In fact, would you like a VIP ticket package to a show of your choice, and you can use it as a silent auction item. That's easy stuff to give away, and they're always appreciative of it.
Yep, I love that. That's you're right. That's a nice sort of counter offer. If you can't or won't or whatever do the actual event. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, man. Fun stuff.
Thanks for doing this, man. What a blast.
It's
I
just
like
fun
this.
to get it out in the world, and that's why I have to voice text you, because I'll forget all these things if I don't just.
No, I love it when a text arrives from you, Mike, and it's like, oh, great. Topics.
Hopefully you're writing this down, because it's going to disappear and I'm going to forget about it.
That was the only issue this time was, those voice texts disappear 2 minutes after you hear them. And I'm like, okay, great. I have that in there. And I was going to prep the show. I'm like, what was the thing? And so I looked at my response to your voice text and it was like, oh, okay. I remember now. Yeah. So
yeah, man. Well, thanks for letting me flap some gums about music. I love it, dude.
I meant what I said at the beginning. It's always a pleasure. Please, as always, tell people where to find you, my friend.
Yeah. Pork Tornadoes is the band. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. Mike Schulte is my name. Anybody can add me, send me a message if you want to chat about stuff. I love doing that. And I do have a podcast called Confused Breakfast. If you like movies, classic movies mostly, and comedic takes on it, that's a fun place to listen. You're listening to this podcast. I know you like podcasts, so check that one out.
Plex. We use Plex here at home, Mike. For our movies. It
Illegally?
Recommended. I bought Plex. I paid Plex for their things.
Okay.
Yeah. I know what you're asking, and I didn't answer that question. I answered a different question.
What you're talking about it.
Correct.
Oh, Plex. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but it had a Christmas movie, like Santa's Nice List or something, where they had collected like Christmas movies that either you or the libraries to whom you're connected have in them, so that you could watch like right away. And there was a Christmas movie called Tangerine in there that we started watching last night. Do you know about this movie?
Never heard of it.
Great. Yeah, it was shot all on iPhones. And that's the most I'm going to share with all of you. I will let you do that. This is an exercise for the listener, and we'll leave it at that. But we watched half of it last night, and we kind of had to turn it off because we were shaking our heads. However, every one of us woke up this morning and was like, I kind of need to finish that movie.
That's good.
Is it? I'm not sure that it is.
We'll find out. Hey, we just did a review on Hot Frosty, so that was that new Netflix Hallmark one.
I saw Hot Frosty. My wife's knitting Hot Frosty scarves now. So
listen to the review, you'll like it.
What's that thing we always say here?
Always be performing. We said it in the episode.
We said it many times. Love it. Thanks, folks. See you next week. And we're out. Sweet.
Easy enough, man.